Hello and welcome, Minnesota Farah. We are genuinely very happy to have you with us for our daily coverage of the NFL news. Please subscribe to our channel to support our initiative as we bring to you the latest updates from the world of NFL on a daily basis. Now let's dive deep into our news stories.
Welcome, NFL fans, to a jam-packed edition of the latest league updates. I'm your host, and we've got a lot to cover today. So, let's get started. 1. Arizona Cardinals injury report. We kick things off with the Arizona Cardinals. In a crucial matchup against the 49ers this Sunday, they're facing some injury concerns. Star wide receiver Marquise Brown is questionable with a thumb injury. Alongside him, offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr. is also questionable due to an ankle issue. These injuries could significantly impact their game plan against a tough opponent. Now, let's move on to our next news. 2. Atlanta Falcons London Challenge. The Atlanta Falcons are heading across the pond to London, but they have a key player in doubt. Running back Cordarrelle Patterson is questionable with a thigh injury. Facing the Jaguars, every player counts, and Patterson's potential absence would be a blow to their offensive schemes. Falcons fans will be eager for updates as the game approaches. Now, let's move on to our next news. 3. Baltimore Ravens injury woes. The Baltimore Ravens, despite a strong start to the season, are dealing with a multitude of injuries. Running back Justice Hill is questionable with a foot injury, while wide receivers Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr. have been ruled out, leaving Lamar Jackson with fewer receiving options. Offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley is doubtful, further affecting their offensive line. The Ravens have a challenging matchup against the Browns, and these injuries add to the complexity of their game plan. Now, let's move on to our next news. 4. Buffalo Bills suffer defensive blow. The Buffalo Bills have a significant loss on their defense. Safety Jordan Poyer is out for their upcoming game against the Dolphins due to a knee injury. This absence could be a crucial factor as they aim to contain Miami's offense. Bills fans will be hoping for a strong defensive performance despite this setback. Now, let's move on to our next news. 5. Carolina Panthers injury concerns. The Carolina Panthers are winless so far this season, and they face the Vikings this Sunday. Running back Miles Sanders is questionable with a groin injury, and wide receiver Jonathan Mingo is also questionable due to a concussion. Linebacker Frankie Luvu is questionable with a hip issue, and safety Xavier Woods is ruled out with a hamstring problem. These injuries will test the Panthers' depth as they seek their first victory. Now, let's move on to our next news. 6. Chicago Bears defensive struggles. The Chicago Bears defense has taken a hit as cornerback Jaylon Johnson is ruled out for their matchup against the Broncos. Safety Eddie Jackson is also ruled out due to a foot injury. These defensive absences could be exploited by the Broncos offense, making this game a challenge for the Bears. Now, let's move on to our next news. 7. Positive update on Joe Burrow. The Cincinnati Bengals have received some positive news regarding their star quarterback, Joe Burrow. Despite concerns about a calf injury, Burrow practiced in full both days this week. Head coach Zach Taylor confirmed that he doesn't have a game designation on Friday's injury report, suggesting that he's on track to play in their next game. Bengals fans will breathe a sigh of relief knowing their franchise quarterback is in good shape. Now, let's move on to our next news. 8. Browns Deshaun Watson questionable. The Cleveland Browns have some uncertainty at the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson is listed as questionable with a shoulder injury for their game against the Ravens. His availability will be closely monitored leading up to kickoff, as it could significantly impact the outcome of the game. Now, let's move on to our next news. 9. Cowboys without key offensive linemen. The Dallas Cowboys will be without their star left tackle, Tyron Smith, who has been ruled out with a knee injury for their matchup against the Patriots. The Cowboys' offensive line depth will be put to the test, especially with right guard Zach Martin and center Tyler Biadasz also dealing with injuries. Now, let's move on to our next news. 10. Broncos defensive challenges. The Denver Broncos will be without outside linebacker Frank Clark, who has been ruled out with a hip injury for their game against the Bears. Linebacker Josie Jewell is also ruled out with a hip issue, and safety Justin Simmons is questionable with a hip injury. These defensive setbacks could create opportunities for the Bears offense. And there you have a comprehensive roundup of the latest NFL news and injury updates. Subscribe for more updates as game day approaches, and let's all get ready for some thrilling NFL action this weekend.